Galisteo, of course, has an ancient history.
That's right.
And you mentioned the Navajo word from this College of Divinity.
Yes.
Are there any influences that you can point to, specific things from Native American spirituality here in New Mexico to your work?
Absolutely. Whether we're talking about the Pueblos or we're talking about the Apaches who came through Galisteo and destroyed the priest and destroyed the Spaniards 3 times until they brought blankets that had smallpox. And then those Tewa Indians from Galisteo moved to Santo Domingo to survive, those of them that survived. But the Native American approach, which I think is beautiful and that all of us need today, is that the wind is sacred and that all things are alive and that the Great Spirit, instead of punishing, embraces us. And so we can find peace and we can find a sense of, I feel the purpose of my life and I'm not afraid through those energies. And that's why I named the Divinity School and the school Nijoni, which means beauty way, everything in balance.
Now, one thing I can't help but think about is of course, you are a woman. You've very accomplished in terms of book sales and translated into many languages. What do you make of the contemporary struggles going on these days with the Episcopal Church, let's say, or the Catholic Church over women as priests, married priests, even gay folks as priests?
Well, first of all, let me say that if you look back in history, and I spent 2 years writing this book, reading all the sacred text, one of the things that I loved was that the founder of the Catholic Church, St. Peter, his wife Anne, performed baptisms, that Jesus himself embraced all women, and they became priests. It was only later that they decided that the problem with women was sexuality. The problem with women was birth. And so they, in their consciousness at that time, not to be blamed, but from their perspective, if you were going to be a priest of God, in order to not go to hell but to go to heaven, you had to be very careful what you did. And so they decided that let's eliminate sexuality, let's eliminate women because they're too dangerous, and let's just focus on the men. What I would say is that it's time. It's time to acknowledge and honor Jesus' choices if you're Catholic, and if you're a Muslim or you're Sikh or whoever you are, it's time to realize again that we are both male and female, each one of us, and that women can bring a kind of loving generosity to all dogma that is necessary at this time. And we need to let go of the battle. What's happening now, and this is true of gays, it's true of all of those labels. Let us become human and let us become divine through our experiences, not through our dogmas.
Our time is running short, as it always does, but I wanted to fit in at least 1 or 2 more questions. On your Wikipedia page, I couldn't help but notice that you've worked with Shirley MacLaine.
Yes.
What was that like? Sometimes it can be the butt of jokes, as you might imagine, Shirley MacLaine, but what was that like for you?
It was like working with every other person. I see each and all of us as divine beings, and that's what I learned from people dying in Salvador, that you could be the poorest of poor and feel the dignity of being the wealthiest because you lived well, because you gave. Another Native American tradition, you know, the great giveaway. And so with Shirley, it was like any other person, looking at her divine energy, and she has used it well in this life. But for me, when you get on the table, who knows who's going to appear? I am not there to judge that, but to see how it helps you to converse with your life today.
You mentioned when we sat down before the cameras got started that you don't have a TV.
Yes.
One of the few people, not probably more than a few actually, in New Mexico. Why is that? What do you spend your days doing aside from writing, obviously, is one big thing?
Traveling a lot. I think the TV is a great responsibility, so let me say that I honor you, because you reach thousands and millions of people, and the questions that you ask echo people's own questions. And so I certainly think that the TV and movies, I'm working on some movies right now, part of it is The Evolution of God, is a way that helps us because we're more visual than we used to be, you know. But for me, the TV is, I simply don't have time for it. I like to watch movies, And so I like the visual aspect. But when I came to Galisteo 40 years ago, I didn't have a radio, I didn't have a TV, because we didn't have the technology in Galisteo. It was a very tiny village of 150 people. And it taught me to listen with my ears. I can hear for a mile and a half. I can hear the coyote, I can hear the wind. And those things allow me not to think that everything is so important. I have had 6 near-death experiences, and let me say to you all that at the moment of your death, most of the things that you're afraid of, that you are angry about in this life, will mean nothing to you. And so give yourself space. That's why we've come to New Mexico, because it's beautiful, because it allows us all to touch something inside us that has no name, perhaps.
The book came out earlier this year.
Yes.
What's next for you?
Well, right now I'm doing a children's book. It's called Phone Home. Chelsea, one of my grandchildren, Chelsea and the Star People. And I'm again talking about evolution, talking about not being afraid. I want to do more books for children that have to do with not growing up afraid, but growing up with an expanded kind of consciousness. What can I learn from anything and everything? That makes life rich for us all, whatever our situations.
Well, on that note, we're going to have to end this conversation. But thanks so much for sharing your insight and perspective with our viewers. The book, of course, is The Evolution of God.
Yes.
Best of luck with this.
Yes.
Maybe we can have you back to talk about the children's book.
I would love to. And great love to you all.
You can find out more about Chris Griscom and the Light Institute on our website at newmexicoinfocus.org.